Here he is. How are you?
Good. How are you? Nice
All
to
good,
see you.
man. All good. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Doing my
How's the
best.
day? How's the day been?
It's been all right. It's a bit wet here today. Bit like home for us, to be fair. But yeah, just did a little treadmill workout. Got some teas downstairs, and it's raining. Oh, that's a hold on. Actually, I'm just gonna make sure my wife.
It's actually raining here. Yeah, yeah, it's raining here.
All right, I think we're on.
Yeah, it should be good now. I think there was maybe a connection issue, but it's all good now.
It's raining.
How's it all been in quarantine lately? I mean, it's a tough. I mean, for you anyway. I think you're always doing stuff on your own anyway, so you kind of battle against that, whatever. But has it been
Yeah,
different for you?
it's definitely different. I mean, I'm definitely a big advocate for individual training anyway. So obviously, I've got a lot of drills handy that I can be doing, but when you're limited with space, it's always difficult. Thankfully,
Right.
we have been still go to the pitch and that, so definitely been making the most of using that if I can, but still not the same getting those touches with your team every week.
Right.
It's tough. You know this as well. Obviously, individual training, it should be supplemental to your team training. You need to learn to apply what you're
Yeah.
working on in a team environment under pressure, working with other players. So that part of it's
Definitely.
been tough. We're getting to a point now where we can get back into small groups and train, and but yeah, it's a bit tough for all of us when we don't know when our next game is going to be. I think everyone and yourself, you don't know when the next session is going to be, so it's
Right, because
hard
they
to.
cancelled the indoor season, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully there was only 2 games left for us anyway,
Okay, so
but the
they
last
just
one was Florida, which I was buzzing for because it was still freezing up here in New York.
yeah.
So after our we always have a little like vacation as a team, and what a place to. I mean, last year obviously I was out in California. That was our last game when we got together,
Yeah, I
and
remember.
that was amazing. So I was looking forward to that, and I think the whole team was. It's just would have been nice. We had a very tough season, so it would have been nice just to kind of blow off a bit of steam. But what can you do?
What can you do?
Thankfully, it was only a couple, but we got a good full season in, and yeah, it's just a shame that outdoors been cancelled
Yeah.
and
Well,
yeah,
we'll talk about your first indoor season in the ASL in a little bit. But what we'll do is first off, thanks
yeah,
for coming on, man. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you coming on and trying to share
awesome.
your journey and just help out kids that follow us. So we'll start with kind of your kind of youth career, how you kind of developed into a wing player, whether you always played there, and then just talk me through your story as a youth and how it kind of came to you, ended up coming to America and how that came about.
Yeah. Well, grew up in England, obviously, not too far from where you grew up.
Yep.
I was in. Um, to be honest, my earliest. I mean, obviously in England we're brought up playing with the football. That's just kind of a part of our culture. But
Yeah.
in terms of like being really passionate about the game, I don't remember being that into football at an early age. I always played like just because I'm
That's
a school.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like I didn't watch a lot of football from an early age. I was just into all sports. I was just like mad about sports in
Yeah.
general.
But not so
Um,
much soccer or football
yeah,
as your primary.
I mean, to be fair, I was probably playing every day, like at lunchtime at school.
Just like
I did,
everyone does.
yeah, like everyone down the park. We used to use like the cricket boundaries as a
Yeah,
goalpost
yeah.
because
Uh-huh.
we played World Cup because it's obviously a luxury to find anywhere with nets on a goal in England. So that's what we would use and just spend hours doing it. But it was more just for a laugh. I loved being involved in any kind of sports. Most summers I would go to like multi-sports camps where you're
Yeah.
playing basketball, cricket, football. I was really into tennis, to be fair, actually, from an early age. And I probably thought if there was a sport I was going to take further, I probably would have anticipated tennis because I absolutely loved it.
I
But
could see you as a tennis player, actually.
yeah,
A bit of a Djokovic.
yeah, I wish. No, I loved it. I think I think individual sports are a bit tougher mentally, so
Oh, yeah.
you have to be a certain kind of person to really pursue that.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely. I don't know
being,
if I'd have head loss if I was to play
yeah, I
tennis.
mean, on your own forever, really, aren't you? So,
Yeah, that's tough. That's very tough.
but I loved it, and yeah, I just remember being so into all sports, any sports that were going on. So obviously, I could handle a football. I loved playing with it, and I was pretty coordinated because I was into all of the sports, but I don't think it wasn't until I played like for my primary school team maybe a handful of times. And I remember it's funny because I saw my primary
Yeah.
school coach later after I like really got into football and started like doing something with it. And he was like, I
Okay.
always was trying to get you to play on our school team and you never wanted to. And it's just
No
like, it's
way.
just funny how it
See, that's
worked.
so interesting now,
Yeah.
because you would think like, because you're so driven now and you're like love football so much now, you're training every day and you're always trying to get better, even at, you know, in your late 20s like me. Um, it's interesting how you didn't have that at the start, which is something I'm going to ask you a bit later. But yeah, that's kind of interesting how you weren't so into it at the beginning.
Yeah, I just loved trying things like I did all sorts. Honestly, I did athletics for a bit.
Yeah.
I actually, for about a month, I did Irish dancing in my
No way.
local village hall. Yeah, I
No
like did
way.
everything. I'll have to show you a few
You
off
really
camera,
have done it
but
all.
yeah, I just like everything. And
Yeah, that won't be making any YouTube edits, I doubt.
not a secret. It's on private. I'll send you the link. But
Cool.
yeah, I don't think until I got my first year of secondary school in, that was the first time I played for a proper team where like I actually had to register for a club, and it was just an amateur team called Goers, where you train once a week. We trained on a Friday night and then we played on a Saturday, and that was it. And part of the reason I got into that is because all my mates were on that team, so I wanted to play with my mates. But
No.
from that moment, that's when I started to sort of really take an interest in football. It was probably just tennis and football that I was playing at that time. I hadn't really took an
So that's
interest.
about 13, right? 12, 13 years old?
I think I was 11. I think
Oh, 11, okay.
secondary school, I think I was, it's 11, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we start 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, about 11, 12, yeah.
Yeah, because I think the first team was an under 12
Okay.
team. I would have been 11.
Yeah.
But played for Gotham Rangers, but mate, like, it was a shock for me because I could handle a football and I was like pretty fast and whatnot, but tactically I had no clue
Yeah,
whatsoever.
because you weren't watching the game much.
Wasn't watching it. I didn't even know the offside rule, even at 11,
Wow.
12 years old. I learnt it during that first season, and it took a
I
while.
think how mad that is to say that now when kids are starting at 4 years old, 5, they're in teams, they're playing organised football when they're 6, 7.
Yeah.
It shows you maybe that's not the way. You know, there's other ways to, you know, understand the game, and you don't have to start that young. I've had this debate a lot about should you pick a sport when you're 8 or should you pick a sport later? And I honestly think that it's good to be playing multiple sports until you feel as in yourself, not your parents, until you feel the kid that you're inclined to stick to one. I think it's up to them. You know, it's different for everybody, but it's not. There's no detriment to playing multiple sports until a certain age.
I have to give credit to my parents for that. They like whatever you want to do. They were just like, we will fully support. I mean, my mum let me do Irish dancing. Like, how many parents are letting their kids do that at 6 years old? Like, I was the only lad in the room. Like, who knows where I would have gone if I had just pursued that.
Oh, that's so funny.
But I did gymnastics for a little bit.
That's so good.
And that's like, you know, not a traditional sport. But
maybe that helped, and all that came towards you. Maybe that helped with your coordination, and you know, you did different types of things. I mean, not a lot of kids have done that.
Yeah, well, I mean, up until age of 11, really the only football I was really doing is like with my dad in the garden. So I'm spending a lot of individual time with the ball as well. So I think I got coordinated in that sense. Like, I think a lot of coaches always told me when I would come into their team, like, you're definitely like one of the most technical in here, if not the most technical. But like, we need to get your IQ up. We need to get your game up a lot. And so my first season with Gotham Rangers, I struggled a bit. They put me up front because I was fast and I could kick the ball in the net, but I was struggling with that offside rule. But I didn't really have to know the tactics in that position because they're just trying to shoot over the top and I'm sprinting onto it. And I think I did okay in my first season, probably scored like 10 to 15 goals. And then I came back the next season after learning the offside rule and it was a lot more productive. I think I was top goal scorer in the league. But again, not much sense of the game still. Just kind of being a little bit more clever, obviously, with the offside rule, using my pace a little bit more. But that was pretty much all I had was just pace and could put the ball in the back of the net. There was no, you know, like not checking into spaces or anything like that. I wasn't at all. But I started to watch football a little bit more. A lot of my friends were Liverpool fans. My dad was a Liverpool fan. So I started watching Liverpool a lot. Really liked Steven Gerrard, Michael Owen. Like, I just really admired both of them. I think just because they're both English lads, and
Yeah. Wow, what amazing players they were.
yeah, and like Michael Owen, not like just a freak striker.
In the early days, Michael Owen, wow,
unreal.
How fast was he?
That's it. So like, I looked at his goals and I was like, that's how I play. I just run it and
yeah,
and put the ball. Obviously, I'm not playing against anyone. I'm playing in some local league. But when you're 12, you don't know any better. You think you might.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I always wanted, I wanted to wear number 10. You know, I wanted to wear his number, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna.
Oh, did you see his shirt there? Look?
Yeah, quality. Yeah, that's
it's up there. It's up there. It's making an appearance.
Yeah, that was my last game. Yeah, I've seen that in some of your other live streams. I'm like, I love it.
Yeah, it's up there. I should put your little at right there. Anyway, so fast forward a little bit. You played, obviously you started in those local leagues. At what point was there a point in your teenage years where you were sort of like, all right, now I really, really want to play football. I think this is what I want to do. Or did that come later than that even?
Yeah, I mean, each year after that, I stepped up a little bit as far as so that league I was in was probably like Division 2 of the Nottinghamshire League. Then I went up to Division 1 when I was about 14. Then I played for a team called Keyworth United, which were in like the top local league, you know what I mean? So it's like still very amateur. It's not an academy, just still training once a week, but the level's a lot better. So I was playing with better players, which helped my development because obviously I had to try and keep pace in that. And it was always a struggle. Each team that I went into, at first I was always on the bench, you know, always learning the game, and then I would come into it later on. So it would take time.
Which is good. I mean,
it was always, it was like those growing pains. You know what I mean? You're having to adapt.
Yeah, exactly.
And it does take time, and players go at different speeds with that as well. And that's an important message I always relay. Like, people want to know how long does it take to improve in this area, in that area. It's really up to you, but you can obviously help yourself out a lot by spending time with the ball off the pitch and watching as much as possible.
And did you start doing that at that age? Did you start training like you train now then? What age did you start doing that?
I would say 14, 15 is when, instead of just like, because before that, if I was going in the garden, I'm just like juggling the ball, taking some free kicks.
Yeah.
Playing some World Cup with a mate who came over or something like that. But that was it, you know, just like a couple of actions. I think what really got me into football around that era when I was 11, 12 was like the Joga Bonito Nike era, you know, a lot of skill, a lot of expressing yourself on the ball. So I was well into that. Like, I liked freestyle football as well. I liked practicing all those tricks in my garden. So it was more just like having fun with the ball. But I think at 14, 15, that's when I started to analyze the game a bit more and actually try and do drills that could replicate the game in some way.
Obviously, in the game,
it's impossible to match that intensity, but at least you can make it a bit more productive and try and kind of reflect match situations in your training. So that's where I started putting drills together and just being creative with that and doing the best I could, like using a wall, using cone setups, trying to figure out ways to adapt my position as well. Because by this point, I'd actually turned into a winger. So I was a winger at this point. As I started to learn the game a bit more, I was having a bit more influence on the outside. I was able to get involved in the game a little bit more in the build-up. And I liked being... I really admired Beckham growing up for obvious reasons. And
same, he was I loved Beckham.
Yeah, just an idol for all of us English lads for sure. So again, I think players definitely, like top level players, had a big influence on how I wanted to play. And I tried to look at myself and see what attributes I had. I was decently quick, you know, I had good technical ability. So I tried to look at players where they have that skill set. Obviously, they have it a million times better than me, but you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like trying to see and base your game around that. So I really practiced like my crossing a lot, bending a ball, free kicks all the time. And my drills always reflected that. I wanted to do a lot of fitness drills with the ball, close control dribbling on the wing when you're in those tight space situations. I wanted to be someone to give the ball to and know he's going to try and do something with it, or you can rely on him a bit more. And but I think when I really took it seriously is when high school was finishing. So you know this, but in England, you can finish high school at 16 if you want. That's like last year of mandatory education. Then you decide if you want to do your A levels or you want to go to college or whatever you want to do, if you want to go straight to work. And I wanted to go to a sports college. There was a college near me, Loughborough, which like had a good reputation for sports. I'm sure you even know that. Like a lot of athletes,
Yeah,
like
brilliant,
Olympic
brilliant
athletes. Like,
school. Yeah, I played against Loughborough Dynamo youth team when I was younger, and I think that was a lot of boys that were around that kind of. That was younger. I think that was U18. So that would have been
I
when
played
a
for
lot of boys that were. Yeah, I think we played at the. I can't remember where we played. Maybe they've got their own stadium, but yeah, we played against them.
Yeah, it's a good place. Yeah, it's so funny. But so I wanted to go to Loughborough College, and I did my BTEC national diploma, and
Yeah.
they have an academy there. So it's a team. They train every day. Coach of the team was Steve Wilkinson, ex Preston striker. So I like knew like it was like a better level. Just alone training every day in a team environment was.
So that was your first time doing that when you were
16.
How old? 16. Yeah.
Yeah, 16.
Nice.
Would I have been? Yeah, I might have just been turned. When you start, yeah, I would have been 16 already. But yeah, that was my first time in an environment of training every day. Never even got a sniff of any kind of academy experience before that, really.
Wow. Which is important to touch on. It's important for kids to know. Like I said, look where you've gone from hard work and dedicating yourself to your craft, and not just the ball skills, focusing on your body and your mental health and everything that goes into it. You can achieve it. Michael's never been in an academy system. And you managed to play the top level indoor, and you played a good level of outdoor football as well. So it's just important to touch on that, because kids just think, oh, if I'm not in an academy, I can't make it. It's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, it's helpful because like you can see, and I remember so I went for a tryout, and there was probably 60 players, and so in college you're doing 2 years, so you got all the second year players that are at the trial, but they're not taking part. So they're really only looking to fill about 20 spots, because you have a first team and a second team, and there was probably about 10 to 15 second year players anyway. So out of 60 boys, I did something to get enough to get into the system, the full squad. And I remember the first day of training, like the preseason, we all went into the classroom and we're doing the classic, all right, say your name, where you're from, and what team and that. And I'm like near the back, and the lads are going around like, oh yeah, I got released from Birmingham Academy. Oh yeah, I was at Leicester this season. Oh, I was at this academy. And I'm just sitting there like, what am I doing here? Like, like massive resumes, and I'm just there like, and they came to me, I'm like, oh, my last team was Keyworth United, and everyone's just like, it's just like cricket, you know what I mean? No one, so everyone's given their list, and mine's like over in a second. And then I just remember from that moment, you have those moments in your life where you remember it so well just based on how you felt in that second. It's like what you said about heightened or something. Yeah. And I just remember feeling just so embarrassed and being I felt like, you know what I mean? Like all these lads with these experiences, and they deserve to be here, and there's me. I mean, it's a college academy. I shouldn't have been thinking this way, but you can't, in retrospect, you can't really do anything about it. But
how did you kind of overcome that, and how did you use it to your advantage in the end?
Yeah, I did struggle at first. I got put in the second team, which was, it was all right. I was still playing, getting to train every day. So obviously my development shot and my improvement grew so rapidly, because we're still getting the same training as the first team got, because they don't decide until the day before who's traveling with the first team, who's traveling with the second team. So you're still in that environment, which was great for me. And I started to improve a lot. At first, I started as a right back, actually.
Okay.
I couldn't get the wing, I couldn't get in as a striker, and just kept at it. And then just throughout the season, I remember I scored a goal from right back, where I took the ball and just like mazed through everyone. We were playing against Lincoln College. I'll never forget how if I could wish for one, like, I hope at the end they figure out, like, dig out your replays from your memory, get it on like videotape, because I would love to watch that.
You want to see that
goal? I would love it. But I remember taking the ball right back, weaving, and then smash one in. It like hit the post and went in. And I just remember my celebration. I was just like, I didn't know what to do. And so after that, they put me as a winger. And
Okay, it caught you doing that, made them think, oh, he can attack. Let's put him up.
Yeah. And I think when I first got in there, I was playing very modest because I did have that feeling of I'm going to get found out that I'm not ready for this. You know, I don't have the tactical experience that these guys have. So every ball, I was just like so simple with it. Even as a winger, I would just like play it to my centre midfielder and then check out, try and get. I was never trying to take people on.
Even though that's not really your game. Your game is like get the ball and drive. You know.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Confidence thing.
I felt so. Yeah, you just don't. You feel like you're not expressing yourself at all.
Right.
The joy starts to go. You know what I mean? But I don't know what happened in that game because it just clicked. You know, when you just like running with the ball and every touch just like.
Yeah, you find the space and it just opens up for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like it was just like a perfect moment. And then I started playing as a winger. Got a couple of first team bench appearances where I'd be on the bench and then come in at the end of the game. I was coming in as a right back for the first team though, so I wasn't getting a sniff at that. But just like stuck with it all season. And then the coach was good at communicating, which is what I really appreciated. He was just always very honest. He was just like, defensively, you're just not there. Like, you've got some great attacking skills, but we're putting right back to force you into like defensive situations a lot to try and help you with that a little bit. And he would tell me that like the fullback position was one of the safer positions for him to test me out at because you've still got centre backs there. If I make a mistake, you're not expected to attack like a winger. It's kind of like
safety position. Basically. Put you in a safety position.
Yeah. So like it's like if you're athletic, if you're fit, if you're kind of technical, you do a decent job there. Unless you're playing against Ronaldo or something. But so I just stuck with it, and I remember I came back the second year, and then I was like a solid first team player.
Okay.
And I was starting most games as a winger, having more influence, scoring more goals.
You're 17 now.
17, yeah. And then this season, so when you're in college, you can sign for a club because it's not part of an academy. It's a college academy, but you're only playing colleges. You know what I mean? So you can sign for outside clubs, and I signed for my first semi-pro non-league team, Grantham Town. I was earning 25 quid a game.
Nice.
As a 17-year-old, you know, like you make £1 from playing.
I think when I was 16, I made my first team debut for. They were called Ford Sports UCL Prem it was, so league below Southern, and I got I think £20. I was like, this is amazing.
More than I was making from like any paper round that I've ever had.
£20.
Like good.
16, you're like, wow.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but so I got a little bit more experience there. Like obviously non-leagues, it's a unique style of play, very gritty, very physical.
Yeah.
Definitely very blue collar in England. You know, it's
tough for youngsters.
If you want to see England, that's where you go. You know, but it was great. So, I think that helped me a bit with my confidence as well, playing with more experienced guys. It made me feel like I had a little bit more of a resume, if you like. I felt like a bit more established in the first team. And the nice thing is when you're a second team player, you don't have to do that bit at the beginning where you're like listing off your resume because you're a player. So I was watching the new lads, you know, listing off their resumes and that. So I didn't have that like confidence knock at the start of the season either. So, but yeah, so I played my second year. It was good. The year before, our team got promoted I wasn't really involved in the first team much, just like little bits here and there, but they promoted into the top division of English colleges, so ECFA. And I was playing against some really, really good schools. South Notts were really good. They had a lot of like Forest boys who weren't getting games in the academy, so they would sometimes come and get games there because a lot of the local academies, they're doing their BTECs at these colleges. Like we had a lot of
right. So you've got some really good players.
So yeah, really, really good players. So that was a great environment for me to develop. And obviously the coaching, that was the first time I'd had daily coaching from someone who has played at a pro level. So he saw the game differently and educated me a lot. And it was a struggle, but I think that was probably my biggest learning phase was those 2 years. Just
what
learning
would you say the biggest thing you learned were from him, that first coach?
I think patience. I think as a winger, I always thought every time I needed to get the ball, I've got to drive forward, like to be a winger. But learning to build it, and I think tempo was huge for me. It's not always 100 miles an hour, and I think a lot of younger teams do think that it's a bit chaotic. But when you watch teams, it's like at times you need to kind of lull the other team to sleep a little bit and then capitalize on that. And I think that was huge for me, having to switch gears and learn when to be composed, when to try something. And I think just being calmer on the ball was massive for me. And
nice. Interesting.
I think for me, like technically, if we're talking about what did I learn technically as my first touch in those 2 years, was something, because in individual training it's difficult to do. You can do it with a wall and that, but as I've already mentioned, I was always just like juggling free kicks and that. So I felt like my first touch, I was still having to think about it a lot. And when you're having to think about that, you're being distracted from your next move a little bit.
Yeah, so slowing you down straight away.
Yeah. So through those 2 years, I worked very hard on just cleaning that up so that I can focus more on my next move rather than the first touch itself. So I think those two things were huge. And then, so then I ended my college career. So I'm 18 at this point. And there was an opportunity with the Nike Academy, which was very short, but it was really good. Basically, the only reason I got into that was because the Superfly boots at the time, the Nike boots, they had like this, like an invitation where a lot of cities around the UK, they were trying to showcase these new boots. And they had like a little event where you try on the boots, you run around a speed course, a dribbling course, and you got whacked the ball in the back of the net. It was the Ronaldo speed test. And like, of course, like this is my bread and butter. This is what I always do in my training. So I'm like, count me in. So I go and absolutely smash it, of course, like because drills is what I do. So I get like the fastest time there. And that's your ticket into the Nike Academy, which is mad because players that were coming in from other places, they took a few select players from this to come on trial. And then the other boys that were coming in were all like released academy boys, this and that and the other. So it was a bit weird. There was a way to get in just by doing drills. Like there's no soccer sense in a dribbling drill. You know what I mean? Like like
they were just kind of getting you on speed. That's crazy.
But and I just remember the coach saying to me like he just liked the way he liked my technique going, and he said like it seemed like you had a bit of ability that could be molded but we have to see your soccer sense kind of thing. I think that was exposed pretty quickly that I wasn't on the level of a lot of the other boys coming in. Like we had a boy come over from Australia, Rodich, and he ended up playing for the Australian national team. And
Tom Rogic, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, played for Celtic and stuff. Yeah, I remember, left-footed.
And there was another lad, TT Cam. He's now, I don't know if he's still in the MLS, but he was at Colorado Rapids.
Wow.
He went to Sweden and then came out here, but like the caliber of these boys was like unreal. These were boys.
Insane.
Yeah, so the Nike Academy was a team. The first year was kind of a test year. That's when I was literally there for a month in and out. But it was like their test year. But their second year, they were playing against like Man United academies, Barcelona. I think they played against like Juve or AC Milan or something like that. But it ended up being a huge thing. But some of the coaches there were top class. They'd been involved in a lot of like Premier League academies and that. So they introduced us to a lot of the tactical side of the game that I hadn't experienced before, even in that short window. So I feel like that was huge for me. But it ended so quickly that I was kind of, I wanted more, you know what I mean? And at that point, I was still playing just like semi-pro, but I wanted more. I missed that daily training environment that I was having at the college academy and then in the Nike Academy.
Is that where kind of the USA came about and you thought, let's try and go out there, or how did that go?
At this point, I was still thinking maybe there's a way in England that I can still do it. I think I struggled with the confidence side of it to pursue it, but just because of our culture there, like you're mostly in an academy at a really young age if you're going to make the first team of a pro club. Like that's just like the proven system. I know now we know there's other ways, but at the time, social media, I'm not seeing other routes, you know, so I'm thinking this is the only way.
Yeah, definitely. I think the same. When I was Yeah, I think it was. I thought that as well. I thought there was no way I could make it in England, even if I was good enough. I just thought there's no chance. So
Yeah,
that's when America came in for me.
Yeah, and at 18, you're considered like a senior player. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
should be.
it's maybe a bit different now. I think that there's a lot more avenues now. Maybe because we're talking between 10 and 15 years ago, and there wasn't as many avenues to get to a pro club. Or I know you could play first team and make your way up that way. I know a few players did that, but I just didn't think that was a route for me there by 18.
I mean, you just, and there's no one there to kind of say, no, you can do it. You know what I mean? I think most lads are just like, nah, you ain't doing it because. And
even if like you're unbelievable, but if you're not seen by a certain age, I would always think nah. But now I don't think like that anymore. But at the time, I definitely think my mindset was a bit different.
Yeah, but the closest I got, so this is where I like pursued it. There was a facility near me, a place called Sutton Bonington, where the manager of that, he would let us like play on there, train on there, and I'd be there every day because there was essentially friendly matches, like pickup matches, on the turf.
Okay, yeah.
Every day. So I'm just like using that because I'm not training every day with the team at this point, so I'm just using this to like keep getting touches in not a team environment, but a competitive-ish environment because it's so important to play with other players, and I needed that because I'd only been introduced to that 2 years prior, so I didn't want to slow that. And I remember the manager of the facility, he would always come out and play, and he liked me. He'd always play on the same team as me. He's like, you need to be playing somewhere. You need to be playing somewhere. And he was pretty well connected to do clinics all over the UK with academies. Some academies would come in and train because he managed a couple of facilities. And he knew the under-18s coach at Luton Town. Bearing Luton Town were in the Blue Square Prem, so they had all that money issues. So they're not in the League Two, but they had a pretty good reputation. I remember a few years before they were playing against Liverpool. I think they were up like 3-1, and then Liverpool came back and won 4-3, 5-3, I think, where Alonso scored from like.
Is that the game where Gerrard scored from inside his, or Alonso scored from inside his own arm?
Yeah.
Is that the game?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I remember. And Gerrard's like, don't shoot. And then he goes, oh, great goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
I was like, oh yeah, Luton Town. So, I mean, they were still trained every day because they trying to get back into League Two because the only reason they weren't in it is because of the money troubles. So it wasn't. Yeah, so they still got a bunch of really good players, good facilities. So they're under 18s, like most academies, you play friendlies against other academies. They were coming up to play against Mansfield Academy, and so the guy Mark, who's the manager of the facility, he called and was just like, would you take a look at him like while you're up here or anything like that? And the Luton Town manager under 18s is like, well, we're just playing a friendly. He can come and he can get some minutes at the end of the game for our team. And I'm just like, are you joking? So I go up to Mansfield, Mark drives me up and I play. I came on for the last 20 minutes and I don't know what happened, but I played out of my mind. Like, I was doing things that I don't usually do, like taking risks. I was, for once, I was very aware of the situation. I wasn't nervous about it, but I was more like, I've only got 20 minutes. I need to show everything. Rather than that being like a nervous thing, I was like, give me the ball. Like, I was screaming for the ball every time, scored a goal. Like, we were already up 3, Luton was already up 3-1, so I felt like I could do that as well. That might have helped out my confidence a bit, but scored a goal, did really well, like won a few corner kicks, like just having influence on the game. Like, I just remember every moment of it, and like I just felt like genuinely every time I touched the ball, I had some kind of an impact, as in not everything pulled off, but I like drove it forward or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the coach was just like, well, we can give you a chance. You can come and train with us and we'll see how it goes, kind of thing. And they're like midway through the football season at this point. They're like, but we can't provide accommodation for you at this point because most of the lads are local to Luton. But if you can get up here, then yeah, feel free to come and train with us and we'll see how it goes. So I just remember for the next 3 months, every week I'm getting on a train going up to Luton and staying at a travel lodge, like 5 miles from the ground. I was walking back and forth. And just like, I remember like not having much money, so I was just like eating just like a banana and then like rationing like those porridge oats, like you just put the
That's the grind right there.
It was great.
Yeah.
But I think I played 5 games in total, including that first friendly match, including 20 minutes. Obviously, I wasn't starting the first couple of games. I didn't start. I came off the last 10 minutes-ish of the first 2 games, did pretty well with those. Then I started my 3rd game, played awful. And then, and then after that, I didn't start for the 4th game, played okay. The last game, I remember I started and just, again, played awful. It was like I was playing better. I was coming on as a sub, or maybe it was like I was feeling like I had less pressure on me or something. But anytime I would start, I just remember so physically feeling sick in the changing room. And again, kind of like my first year at the college academy, just feeling a bit like an imposter. A lot of these academy boys, they've been in there for 4 or 5 years.
And it's hard. It's hard going into an environment like that. I mean, and I think at that age as well, a lot of the boys. I remember going into Russian Diamonds a similar time. I made it through the open trial, and I went to train with the under-18s. I think I was 16 then or 17. I can't remember. And none of the boys. I didn't feel like the boys really want to help you. They feel like you're coming in to take their spot. You know.
Well, that's the thing.
That's what it's like. It's really hard to perform in that environment.
Yeah, and I remember. Yeah, just like you were saying, it was very cold in the locker room. Before,
it's not very nice.
They're not like they've already got their clicks and that. And I would remember they're all like chatting and stuff. I come in and then it would go like quiet for a second. I'm just kind of like putting my boots on. Then you're going out there.
It's not very
nice.
I
don't have anyone like asking me by name for the ball. It was always just like, yes, yes. Or like lad or mate or, you know, it's never like they took the time. And I get it because at under 18s, that's the last, especially at those lower clubs, that's the last hurdle before whether you're going to get released or you're going to get first.
Exactly. The thing is they've not made it yet. So they're not happy that you're coming in. And it's not like you're going into a first team where there's established players that want to put their arm around you and be like, let's help this boy, you know, he's been signed. You know, it's a totally different environment. Yeah,
and I think especially like when they've been in that academy for a few years and they're trying to like, who's this lad in the last half of our final chance to get first, and he's not played anywhere. Like he's played like non-league and so. And I maybe this was in my own head at the time because I was probably looking for excuses. I didn't feel comfortable in that environment, but I felt like the coaches didn't take me that seriously either. They were kind of like, they're doing me a favor, giving me this opportunity. They're not really expecting
actually looking at you. Yeah, I've been in those situations too. It's just not very nice.
Yeah. So to fast forward that 3 months, I didn't get signed. They like, well, yeah, you didn't show us enough to justify us giving back, which is fair enough because I think it would make the whole academy system a bit questionable if they're pouring all this money and time into players for years and then some lad comes in who's just played Sunday League up until the age of 16, like is getting signed for a first team. It would have been an amazing story, but
and they signed him.
I think there's I think there's a reason why these academies are in place. I mean, it's brutal. I mean, even like I'm sure you heard Jack Blake's story. You know, he was in an academy from 9 till 21.
Yeah,
and then
and they just released him.
The caliber of him as a player is unreal. And then there's players like me trying to break in. So that was the point where I started looking at the US. That was definitely the point because I'm like, it's not even like I'm in a team that's getting back into a fully professional state, and I'm not anywhere near ready. That I got given this opportunity, but I wasn't equipped for it.
Right.
So like I felt like I needed to explore. I'm like, surely I knew. I did gain confidence from that experience. I will say that because like not a lot of my mates were getting these opportunities. I was like, obviously I'm showing that I'm a little bit further ahead than maybe your Sunday League, like a semi-pro level, non-league.
But not quite at the level.
But not, But I'm like, so if I'm at this level here in England, what about somewhere else where the level's different, the style of play is different? How would that compare? Like maybe a 7th division player here is the equivalent of like a 2nd, 3rd division player somewhere else. So started looking into opportunities. I emailed a bunch of pro clubs all around the world. So many no's, it was unbelievable because just didn't have a resume. None of them were taking me seriously at all. And they were just like, or it was just like, well, you can fly out here, pay for your own hotel. And I just didn't have that money at 18. Like my parents weren't able to loan me or anything like that. So just no one taking me seriously enough to take a chance, which is fair enough. You know, they're a business. It's just like any job. If someone's coming in to apply for a position, you want to know they've got the experience to do a good job, and they're not going to have favors. You know what I mean? But so then I looked into the US because I knew about the everyday training. training facilities were unreal, especially at the Division 1 level. They're packed out stadiums for some of their sports, and it's a good reflection of the professional game. But so yeah, I went into it and I literally just spent. I remember I was working at a gym near me, and that year I was doing like a personal training certification. So it was like the level 1 PT, you know. So I was like, this is my backup plan. I'll just be a personal trainer, like at least have something on the side. So every morning I'd be in the gym, and I'd come in an hour early and just do emails, just sending emails to colleges all around the US. Hundreds.
So you're just taking it on your own back to try and make something happen.
Yeah, just thought I would, you know. So I like sent my resume, and then, you know, get a mixed response. Some are like, we'll get back to you, we'll let you know, or we can offer you a 50% scholarship, and like it's just like I can't afford the rest, you know what I mean? Or
right.
And then I shot up in the foot a little bit. So I wasn't able to get cleared for NCAA because of like the Nike Academy, and they're technically like sponsored teams, even though we weren't getting money. Like they considered it as a ineligible. Well, there's me thinking that like when they're asking you what teams you play for, I'm thinking I'm trying to like, oh, I'm supposed to be bigging myself up, trying to make it look really good, because they were like asking me all these questions like, did you ever get free gear? Did you ever get free food, free travel, this and that? And I'm like, yeah, we got loads of free gear. Like,
yeah, and you're not supposed to say anything. Yeah, same for me. They asked me if I got paid, and I was like, yeah, you're not supposed to say that.
Yeah,
you're not supposed to say
like, you ever been paid to play? I'm like, yeah, they don't need to know it's £20. They can think it's, you know, $5 a game or something.
That's considered like pro. It's different.
So I shot myself in the foot, and immediately I didn't get through the clearinghouse. So all of these colleges I'd reached out to, they were just like, nah, yeah, obviously we can't. We can bring you in and redshirt you. Or
well, I got out there, and then I didn't realize, and then I found out I was ineligible my first year in America, so I had to miss half a season.
Oh, you were already here?
I was already there, and then they said you're not eligible. So half the season I wasn't allowed to play. I should have redshirted. Looking back, I should have redshirted my freshman season, but I only got to play in like 8 games, and then I left the college. Nuts, man.
That's brutal.
So Instagram Live only lets us go for an hour. So I don't know if you've got any more time, but what we'll do is we'll go through the rest of your story, and then if you've got an extra 30 minutes, we can come back on and just strictly do a Q&A.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think we're going to be able to get to the question. So we'll kind of go through your story in the USA now, and then touch on how you got, made it to the MASL and the semi-professional leagues you played in, and go into Australia as well. So just briefly kind of talk to me about how the USA was. At this point, did you feel like you were a really strong player now when you got over here, and how was it adapting to American style of play and coaches and, New York?
I was well excited for the opportunity. I think there was definitely, so I ended up going with an NAIA school because you can still get an NAIA, but I think the confidence knowing that I'm going to be somewhere for 4 years, like there's not like you have one bad game, you're going to get your scholarship cut or anything like that. And the coaches were really excited to have me. Even the players, I remember beforehand, I had loads of players Facebook messaging me and saying, we're really excited to have you. And because I'd put my highlights on YouTube and that, like, oh, we think you're a really good player and that. So that was completely different, you know what I mean?
So
like
straight away, you're like, I can't wait to go and be a part of this team.
Yeah, they were just like proper buzzing to have you. And I'm like, wasn't, I couldn't anticipate a more welcome, first few days. It was amazing. And I think everyone was very curious. I was the only English lad on the team. So I think in the US, they respect the football in England, obviously with the Premier.
You come in like you're more of a top player.
Yeah, I mean, they just know you grew up playing, so you're gonna be technical on the ball because you've had a lot more touches than a lot of US players, and that's just how we're brought up. And so I think I thrived in that environment, especially when knowing guys want me to do well, and you could feel that, and they're like the US culture is very much more together, like fight together kind of thing. It's not like I'm going to you and this and that. So I thrived in my 4 years here for sure. And I felt like a key player, got a couple of All-American awards, which was great for my confidence, because then it was just showing me that like, you're now in another category where they're selecting a certain amount of players from you.
It sounds like confidence was an issue for you kind of coming through, the situations you've been. I know it was for me. Confidence was a big issue for me. I never really had a coach that believed in me and, put his arm around me, which is what I needed. So it sounds like, when you got to those awards and kind of stepped up, you realised that, you know, you were good enough to be there, and, you know, you were a good player.
Yeah, and I think as well, just because like in England, our culture is like you don't really talk about that kind of thing. You, like
Nah.
when you're with the boys, you're not talking sensitive and not sharing your feelings, emotions. Typically, at least where I grew up. So
Nah,
I
me
felt like
either.
I kept that up and probably
Same.
didn't acknowledge my confidence issue. But like out after coming out to the USA, and people are a bit more open. You can talk it out a little bit more, and I think when you're traveling solo as well, you learn a lot about yourself because you're not
Definitely.
around influences. You're kind of having to show your identity once over again. So you
Right.
figure out who you really are. There's no hiding. You can't
Definitely.
rely on the fact that everybody. You have to introduce yourself. You have to tell your story, and you learn a lot about yourself through. I think really helped me mold. I always think of like people a bit like clay, aren't they? You start off you're very pliable, moldable, and then once you play around with it enough, you get harder and harder, and you kind of you're set on who you are. And I think
Definitely.
I was starting to feel that clay get a bit firmer, I guess, when I was in college. But yeah, really enjoyed my college experience, and obviously the environment of training every day was massive for my development. And then my senior, and in between this, I played in the PDL out in California, so that was huge.
That's right.
The level as well. So a lot of these clubs are affiliated to the USL teams. So playing against like San Jose Earthquakes, you know, U23s and Ventura County Fusion, like these are top quality teams, and you just
really good.
Again, through that summer training every single day in another environment, I was able to go to another level technically. And then my senior year had a really good year, and then throughout that season I was staying in touch with the Rhinos, USL club here in Rochester, the Rochester Rhinos. Their coach was staying in touch with me. He was keeping tabs on me, and I was having a good year. And it was kind of, we were discussing the potential of me coming in to train once my eligibility was up, once I was able to. So that was promising. I was working hard towards that. That was very motivating. I went in to train with the team after I was done with my senior year. Trained with for probably almost 2 months. That was the year they won the USL Championship as well. So like very high caliber
team, yeah.
I didn't get signed. I wasn't ready again. It was like that step up, and I think I struggled again at first with the feeling like I'm not ready for this. You know what I mean? New environment, and I think that took its toll a little bit at first. And basically, the coach said to me, like, "I'd love you to go. You've got potential. I'd love you to go away, get some experience in another league, maybe play another year of PDL, and come back." And I was just like, I don't want to do another year of PDL. To be honest, I want something new. I want something fresh. So this is when I started to look around a bit more. Sent a mass of emails around the world again, and by this point, my resume is a little bit better. You know, I've had some more professional experience. Also better highlights.
Good level.
Yeah, so better game tape, better quality as well. I'm not my dad's like VHS. It's like an actual HD camera with my highlights. So got a much better response from different coaches in different countries, and so then it was time for me to navigate like where can I go where I'm going to be able to survive off the wages of playing, like where's going to offer the best competition, the best package, basically the all-round lifestyle and everything. And I've always been a person that looks at the experience as well as just the level. I'm never like, I just want to play at this level. I'm really big on feeling right in the environment, enjoying the culture and that. So I was really set on Australia. I really wanted to get into a team in Australia. So I got in touch with a lot of coaches, and we kind of got close to the point of, you know, doing the deal. But they all said, like, we want to bring you in first. Obviously, we can see so much on your highlights, but we want to see you in person to completely understand. So I went over to Melbourne to try out with Northcote City FC.
Which is a long way to go, just a trial.
Yeah, and actually we looked up from Melbourne to Rochester. It's one of the furthest distances you can travel, like between two places. So we really went into the thick of it. And obviously by this point I'm married to my wife Becca. We got married.
So she's got to come with you as well.
Yeah, so there's a bit more riding right at this point. Before it's always been I'm like, oh, if it doesn't work out, I just go home, you know. But now it's like, all right, there's a bit more to it. It's not just me I'm thinking about. So
very serious.
Yeah, so we get out there. I didn't know this beforehand, but I was coming in on trial. I knew I was like having a look at, but I didn't know there was other trialists there. And I also wasn't fully aware that you can only sign 2 non-Australian players to your club. And they'd already signed a Greek player the day before I got there. So I was actually in the air when they signed the fellow. So when I land, I find this out and I'm just like, so there's 1 spot left. And there was about 7 trialists in preseason, non-Australian players. So I'm just like, oh geez, like what? And we've already paid for our like temporary apartment for like the next month or 2 months or something. And
jeez.
So pressure's on. Thankfully, we had 2 preseason games before I got signed. The first game I played really well, but it was one of them games where like I was creating so many chances and there was like a force field on the goal. I was just like hitting the crossbar, hitting the post, goalkeepers making good saves. It wasn't happening. And then the first 10 minutes of the second game, I didn't play that well, but I scored a goal. But at half time of the second game, the manager was like, just relax now, we're going to sign you. So like enjoy the second half, just so you know we're looking to take you forward kind of thing. So that was amazing. That was the first time that I'd been on a team where I was able to play. That was my job. So that they were providing enough to pay for my rent and everything else. So that was like a real stepping stone for me.
You felt like a pro then, basically.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. You know, there's the second tier of Australia. I was just really enjoying it. Like it was just like everything. When I think about being a footballer, the only experience I want is just being able to play football instead of having to do something else. I don't care about like having to drive a Lamborghini or anything like that. I just like to play more football. So if I can find an opportunity that's gonna give me that, then I'm a happy person. But love the culture there. Definitely a different style of play to the US. Very physical out there. Similar-ish to the English leagues, I would say, like non-league. It felt like that kind of grittiness, you know, and very passionate culture in football. Very like feels aggressive at times, but I loved it. You know, I felt right at home. It's like a perfect balance between America and England. Like you kind of get.
Yeah, I've been to Australia and I felt the same. I actually felt closer to home in Australia, even though it's further away from England.
Yeah, it's just it's because they've got that like open welcomeness of the US, but they've still got like the banter and like
exactly
humor side of the UK.
Yeah.
So good. It's a good all-round experience. But so I was there for 6 months, and then an opportunity came where I was planning on going to play in the Philippines. I went and trained with the team out there for a month. Then there was a whole situation with the Philippine Football League at the time. So that
maybe you're telling me, nuts.
Yeah, so unfortunately that didn't work out. But I really wanted to play there. The coach was English, and like some of the boys I still stay in touch with now, and that was a great experience. Came back to the US, and I went on trial with Pittsburgh Riverhounds in the USL. So I managed to get a trial there, and it was looking really good. They were going to bring me in for preseason, and my second day of the trial, because we did a 2-day trial, I tore my MCL in like the last. In fact, the player who did it.
Jade. I remember you telling me. Yeah. I remember it's such a small world, and then I end up living with Jade. It's such a small world. It's crazy.
That's it. But complete accident. He was on my team, and someone bundled into him, and his head went into the side of my knee, and then I just felt it pop. Brutal. So I was out for a good 3 or 4 months before feeling like I was running at a good pace once again. So took a little bit of time to myself, and this is the time where I was like building the YouTube channel just to kind of like keep myself sane and have a project side. And I was waiting.
So that's when it all started. That's when you started the YouTube back then.
That's where I started the YouTube. Yeah, literally just because I was having time off the pitch. I needed something to kind of keep me occupied and relate to football, you know. And so I was getting back into my training, so I was like documenting that a little bit more. And and I just remember it was a very dark time. I'm not going to lie, because I was wondering if this was ever going to heal again, because I was waiting for my green card. I didn't have health insurance at the time, and it wasn't attached to a club. So I'm like just kind of praying that the knee's going to heal by itself, and thankfully it did. Thankfully, an MCL, if you want to pick an injury in your knee that's serious but doesn't need surgery, that's the one you want. And it turned out well. And then, so that summer I went in the MPSL when I got back, when I was back fit and playing. So team here in Rochester, so I was like playing for the Rochester Lancers, who just came back in the MPSL. And I loved it, just loved being back on the pitch once again. Nice to be back in a city that I'd spent so much time and already felt so comfortable in.
Familiar to you, yeah.
Yeah, I was able to
Yeah.
play well. You know, I'd been away and gotten some more experience now, and probably I would argue more. I'd say the NPLs in Australia is a higher level than the NPSL, so I felt like I was able to bring something a bit more advanced back to the team,
Right.
and just really enjoyed. And then it was after that season, I got an email from a coach of a team we played against. So we played against Syracuse, and the coach of that team, the assistant coach, he was like a trainer for the indoor Syracuse team at the time. He wasn't there afterwards, but for the previous season, he was involved in the club somehow, and he just said, "Hey, they're looking for players. I think you'd be a good fit to play indoor. I don't know if you've ever considered it." And I didn't even really know what it was at the time,
Right.
but I looked it up. It's a professional sport out here in the US, and and like I said, I'm always one of those guys that looks for the experience. Like I loved watching beach football growing up. I loved watching futsal. I loved anything, any sports, you know, and like
everything.
So I think having a mindset, I was open for it. I think a lot of people would look at the indoor game and be like, "Nah, that's not for me." But I went and tried it. I went into preseason with the team. They ended up signing me in Syracuse, and I loved it because it's just like everything about the game that I love. It's just all technical. You know, it's dribbling, it's shooting, it's fast paced. Tactics are nothing like the outdoor game. Really, it's more like futsal. So
yeah, totally different. How was that adapting to that? Was it hard for you? I mean, it must have been so different.
Yeah, I mean, the first year was brutal, so hard. But I think what is because you don't like there isn't like youth indoor. There's indoor leagues and not youth MASL. You know what I mean? There's not like youth team training to be MASL teams. You know what I mean?
Right.
Having indoor facilities. So like your rookie year, everyone is 100% behind the fact that you need to learn the indoor game, and it's always said. Every coach in the indoor game I've met, you need about 100 games under your belt before it really starts like clicking. Wow. So knowing that, I felt like I could develop at my own pace, and that just being such a technical game, I just like loved the environment, and obviously being paid to play again was brilliant. Just the cherry on top. You know, you get to train every day once again. So I was continuing to be in that professional environment, and it was everything you want when you think of being a pro when you're younger. Even though it's a completely different game, you're still getting you're kicking a ball around for a living. You're getting to sign autographs. You're training with the team every day.
Yeah, bro, I remember going to the games, and it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think until you've watched it or like watched it live in person or like stepped out in a training session, you don't realize the caliber of the players. Like our team in Syracuse had a USL MVP on it, who was MVP the year before. You know, there's very high quality players. There's a lot of USL players that play indoor during the winter, or at least previously, because the league's season, they didn't coincide. They would be completely separate, so they could do both. But yeah, some of these players, a lot of players, really technical, and it's tough. But I really enjoyed the challenge. And
really good. Right, it's going to cut us off this feed, mate. So what I'll do is, everyone watching, we're going to come back on. Mate, it's your internet.
It can't be. Right there, mate. My box is right.
It is. It keeps doing it. Right. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know. Is mine pausing on yours?
No, it must be
people. People are going to start unfollowing me because it's going to keep saying Sam's going live. Sam's going live.
You're doing well. Everyone's jumping back in. I like to see it.
No, yeah, we're all good. But let's just go to continue about what you were saying about the differences and kind of what happened.
Where was I? So, with the YouTube and that. I've completely forgotten where I was.
Yeah, you were just talking about kind of how it all developed and how you're just showing I think what I was going to say was I think the reason that people resonate with you is because you're not trying to be someone different on the camera, which is what some huge YouTubers do. You're just being yourself. And that's why you're able to create a sustainable following, sustainable subscribers.
And I think it's great. And that, there's other players showing their journeys and they're playing at different levels, high levels, which I love to see. And I'm like happy to like recommend that out. I just think everybody's kind of got their own story to share and their own route. And I think that's the great thing about football or any career. There's not one way to sort of live out your own passions, and you need to define that as well. You can't live someone else's dream. Like some players watching me might only want to play in the Premier League, and they're like, well, I don't want to I don't want to follow this because this isn't going to lead me there. And that's absolutely fine. There's somebody else who can get you there. But I think there's a lot of players out there like myself, didn't grow up in an academy, would love to be able to play football every day until their mid-30s or whatever. And just showing that there is different ways to do that. And you don't have to give up just because one route didn't work out.
Didn't work.
Redirect, you know what I mean, if you're willing to put yourself out there. So
yeah, definitely.
Cool.
All right, man, one question for you and then we'll start answering all the questions that we've got. There's a lot of them. What's the best advice you were given, and what's your best advice for any young players that are coming through now?
I think what really helped me, especially when it came to like confidence and like rejection, is it's going to sound cliche, but it is a game of opinions, and one coach's view of a player can be completely different to another coach's, and like you need to bear that in mind, because a lot of coaches, not all of them, but they were players back in their day, so they have their own view of how the game should be played. So coaches might look at a player and they're trying to form something that they know, but a coach knows something different, you know what I mean? So don't take it personally. Like, don't take it personally when a coach doesn't see you as a good fit for their team, doesn't appreciate your style of play, because another coach, you might be their golden boy, you know what I mean? It's just like,
it's hard to do at a young age, but the earlier you learn that, the quicker that you can, become stronger mentally and still believe,
Yeah. And my personal advice, I would just say, like, be clear with what you want. What do you want to achieve? And don't worry about like what anyone else says about that. This is going to sound really cliche again, but I think everybody will always criticize anything that you ever do. It doesn't matter what realm you're in. So like, you could be like the most giving, charitable, amazing person in the world. There's still someone out there that's going to have something bad to say about you. So make sure you're like really clear on what you want and your direction, because if you're not, people's opinions are going to just like take you off track completely. And like, I know for myself, if I spent too much time worrying about that, like, I always get DMs like, why are you wasting your time in indoor? Why are you wasting your talent here and whatnot? I'm like, if I'm in an environment where I love it, I'm living I get football every day and whatnot, I'm thriving. So why would I want to?
Exactly. And that's what it's about, It's about enjoying it and loving your life and, getting the most out of it. But like, the question is like, why aren't you playing in the Premier League all the time?
Yeah. Like, I used to think, I'm going to try and answer that, but it's just so
What's
obvious.
The point? All right, what we'll do, mate, is how many there are. I have two, so I'll click one, and I know there's so many, but I'll try and find some that that would be good to answer. Right, let me see.
Yeah.
God, there's so many, but they're tough ones. Can you explain the new academy system? No, it's very confusing.
How long you got?
I know. Will I start using YouTube regularly? I've been meaning to do this for years. I just haven't been able to kind of commit to it. But yeah, I'm going to try my best. Hold on. How do you...
Mental side of the game. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I think it's hard because you kind of have to go through things. You kind of just have to try and fail, honestly, because
Try and fail, yeah, definitely, I agree.
I don't think there's anything you can really do ahead of time to prepare yourself for anything. You can listen to all the music in the world, you can watch the motivational speeches, but once you're like on the pitch, in the situation, when there's just like pressure coming, everything, you're not thinking about that Jay-Z track you were listening to before the match. It's not
right
anymore, like, you really have to just put yourself through the experiences. And I think with anything in life, the more you do it, the better you get. And
Yeah, I agree.
the mental side of the game, the more you put yourself in that situation, the better you get at handling and navigating through it. And that's it.
Yeah, I remember Matt touched on, when I spoke to Matt, he touched on that you said that the mind, you got to train it, like you said, which is very true. You just got to treat it like any other muscle.
Yeah.
Something that you got to train.
Absolutely. 100%.
Click your one and see if you can find any. There's loads, but I'm just like, I don't know which ones would be good.
Where do I click?
So there's a little. Do you see the 2 questions at the bottom? I don't know if you see it.
It's not on mine.
Oh, maybe it's just because I started the chat. But there's a bunch of questions in the feed as well, so just look through the comments.
Okay.
But I'll find one here, though. I've got a good one. Hold on. Any advice for a 12-year-old first time going into 11 versus 11 for a midfielder?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, first time, it's gonna feel overwhelming. It's just gonna, because
way bigger field.
Yeah, you just gotta. I think it goes along with that mental side of the game. You've got to experience it first and kind of expect challenge, rather than like it shocking you and catching you off guard and knocking your confidence. Know it's going to be difficult, but Definitely. Know that with time you just kind of got to be confident in the journey of it all, because it does get easier. You process things faster. Your body reacts quicker. You know, you get. I mean, if you talk about midfield specifically, obviously you got to figure out what your style is. Are you more attacking? Are you more a key player that maybe doesn't, score the goals, but you're the one threading the pass 2 or 3 passes before? You got to know what your strengths are and really try and hone in on those. You know what I mean? Don't look at yourself as a player and don't try and be like somebody that's completely different to you. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of attacking midfielders want to be Messi. You know what I mean? But then there's some 6'5" lad who's just like really built like a brick house. You know what I mean? And he wants to be like Messi. You got to look at players that are like you if you want to learn from the best, but have a little bit of self-awareness is key, because otherwise you're just gonna always feel like you're acting, like always you're not comfortable because you're trying to do something that doesn't come natural. So that's my advice.
Definitely. There's a lot of questions about drills and exercises for this and that. For all drills, go to Michael's YouTube channel, youtube.com/7MLC. That's where all his drills are. And I mean, anything that you're asking, I'm pretty sure Michael's covered it on his channel. So go to Michael's YouTube and subscribe and watch those videos. There's a couple of good questions here. Do you think that you have a lot of talent, or is it more hard work?
Yeah, I work 100. Like that's so easy for me. I think because I was always into sports from an early age. Yeah, you develop coordination, you develop the ability to use your body, but it took a tremendous amount of work to even get to the level that I'm at.
You're at. Yeah, for sure. I agree. It's a lot of hard work. You know, you can be talented, but it's always hard work over talent. Every day of the week.
Easy.
Oh, it's giving me that thing again. Oh no, we're good. Say something, Mike. I want to see if it lets me hear you. How did you deal with the setbacks that you've experienced in your career? I'll read it again. Having one, but whatever. We'll just keep coming back.
Yeah. All we can do. Comebacks.
Oh, it's still no sound. Oh no, it is. There is.
Oh.
Okay, I hear you.
Wow, I can hear you. Must be me. Sorry, guys.
Everyone's like, use LTE, use LTE. I'm on LTE, mate. I'm on LTE. I don't know what you're on.
AT&T.
People are hashtag no Wi-Fi. I'm not on Wi-Fi.
Maybe that's
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
What we got?
Let's see. Keep leaving your questions, guys. We'll spend about another 20 minutes answering them. Let me go back to the ones that people have sent.
I'm just going to turn off my Wi-Fi. So
okay. It might disconnect you though, no? Lord, yeah, hashtag the struggle is real. Yeah, it is. But we'll keep trying. We'll keep trying. Michael's froze again to me. I don't know about you. Let's see if he's able to come back. There we go. Okay, this might work better now. We might be good.
Okay.
Hopefully. Okay.
What we got?
Hashtag the struggle is real. Let me see. How important do you think the nutritional side of the game is, and what age did you start really focusing on that?
Yeah, definitely didn't at a younger age. I mean, I didn't eat terribly, but I didn't take them because when you're a teenager, you bounce back from everything. Like you can eat.
Right.
At least I could anyway. I could eat anything the night before, the morning of, and feel the same.
I didn't think about nutrition at all when I was growing up.
I remember like having like Snickers bars on the way to match it, like just all sorts of pizza the night before. I think when I was in college, I took a bit more of an interest, just because like you have your college cafeteria and that, so you do more choice. And I think it's easy to make bad choices because there is pizza every day.
Yeah.
And you start to, there's chocolate milk on the fountain.
Yeah. No.
So I think I started to like.
No, yeah. In college, I still, even through college, I ate like crap all the way through college. I wish we'd had like more staff that would like actually make. I know you should take it upon yourself by the time you're in college, but I didn't. I just didn't. It wasn't something I was thinking about, and I never even. I mean, maybe that's why I think it has a huge impact because I was never. I feel like at peak fitness level. Felt like I always had the footballing ability and all that, but I just wasn't as fit as I could have been all the way through my career. So I wish I'd have focused on that.
Yeah.
But nowadays, there's no excuse. Think of all the information that's out there nowadays. Think about all the access you have to the information that you don't even have to do the work to discover it anymore. You can just ready-made go and look at people like yourself, people like Matt, people like Rick Fit, Jack. All you guys are showing what it really takes to get the nutritional side right. So there's no excuse anymore.
That's it. Yeah. And it's just like a lot of it is just using common sense as well. Like we're not robots. Yeah. Obviously all of us, we've spent time together. I'll have ice cream and things like that. I think just like my rule of thumb nowadays is as long as like your treats and that, they're not, replacing healthy foods.
Yeah.
It's more like get the nutrition in first, and if you're still hungry, have a bit. If you need a bit of ice cream or whatnot, just don't do it every day and don't let it replace.
Yeah, nutrition. Everything in moderation is what I say. You can eat anything, but as long as it's in moderation, just don't overdo it.
Like always go to the healthy option first and then add on. Like if you're thirsty, don't just like pick up a Coke. Have your water first and but I mean, I don't drink fizzy drinks. That's just something I don't like to do. But like even if you're having sugary drink, but yeah, just try and use your best judgment and like. You don't need to be a robot with it. I mean, I'm sure Ronaldo probably has like an absolutely inch perfect diet, but you've got like a personal chef that is, and he's don't hold yourself. It's hard for me to say because you want to put yourself at the best level, but he is a unique bloke, isn't he? You know what? He lives on his own.
Yeah,
property and like bought the surrounding property.
Unique specimen.
And you just know what your goals are and act within that. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you.
Yeah.
So I think it's just using a bit of common sense.
Right. Here's a good question from Callum Duff7. Why, and we can both answer this. Why do you think that many talented players don't go professional when less talented players go pro? And it's something that we've touched on before. I think it's because talented players think that their talent's going to going to get them there, and they have a bit more of a chip on their shoulder because they might be better technically than somebody else, so they don't work as hard. I know that's what held me back. I always thought I was just better than most players, so I would be able to reach the level. It's just not the case. I'm a prime example that I do all the stuff you need to do to reach that level. Whereas, people like Matt, for example, they did everything possible they could to put themselves in the best position to reach the top level, and Matt achieved that. And I always say, take your hat off to him, and credit where it's due. He deserves it, and I didn't. So I think that's why I would say personally.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. It's just, it is 100% when a player's talented, they think they just have a natural advantage that can't.
And you don't. You just don't. Yeah. It's not enough advantage at all.
No.
But when you're young and naive, you think it is.
Yeah, it's just. I think I get this question a lot as well, like about your age as well. Like, are you still able to go to a level with it? It's all about like looking within yourself, and it's not a question of like, is it possible? It's like, are you willing to? You know what I mean? Right. It's like, because of course, physically, technically, it can be done. Like, some crazy stories have happened in football and other sports, other careers, where somebody who had like no hope of success has come through, and they're incredible stories. But it's not about, is it possible? Because yes, it is. It's been done. The only question is like, are you able to do what it takes to get there? And that's
exactly. Are you willing? Are you willing to do what it takes? Like, do you actually know how many hours it takes to, perfect certain skills? And I was saying, there's different things that come into it as well. You can't just be a good football player. You've got to be able to communicate. You've got to be able to express your feelings, emotions, which is something that's very hard to do. Maybe easier on the women's side, but on the men's side, we're just not conditioned to, talk about our emotions, how we're feeling, with coaches, or not all of us are blessed with coaches that are like father figures to us, where they can help you with that. There's a lot of coaches kind of like, I just never had that relationship with a coach, and I wish I did. And that's why, doing what I do now, the first thing I try and do is establish that first, before anything football wise. It's, do I understand you as a person? That's the only way you're going to be able to help somebody. So I think it's important to think about yourself as a human being, and how you're able to, like I said, express your feelings and your thoughts, and while as well in a team environment and with individual players, how different players receive information is so important. And especially how you communicate with your coaches. And then the football comes in as well. Obviously, you need to be well-rounded, but I think that's kind of missed. No one really talks about that. It's just, you got to be good at football, which isn't the case.
Yeah, self-awareness, because you could get two coaches tell you the exact same thing, but just the way they deliver the message and the way you absorb information could be the difference. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
people asking about the cucumber water.
Yeah.
Just makes it taste better, don't it? I don't know. Tell the people.
Just Google it. Oh, if not, listen to the song about the guy that he's like a Jamaican guy. He talked about cucumbers. Best video to watch. 100%. Yeah.
There we go. People watch it.
Yeah.
I'll try and get to a few more. What are your 3 top keys to becoming successful as a footballer?
Three what keys?
3 of your top keys to success.
Okay. Yeah. Self-awareness. I would put that at number 1. Just
huge. That's huge.
Just like, honestly, knowing, and it's okay if because it's hard, man. It's really hard. It's not just physically, like putting in all the work to get technical and fit and whatnot. It's very hard mentally. Basically, when you're in a position where your career is based on your bodily performance, and it's not going your way, it's so hard to accept, because you can't blame it on anything else. I've said this, Matt, but in other careers, you can blame other things. Like if you're in an office job and your computer's not working, or the Wi-Fi is not working, like you have a lot of get-out clauses to make an excuse for a sub. But as an athlete in any sport, your performance relies on you own So there's a lot of dark times, and you need to be strong mentally to be in your own company, but also try and surround yourself with other people who are not going to just like add to the negativity, because you're going to have a hard enough time with your own thought.
I agree. We were talking about this before about Van Persie, and you got to listen to that if you haven't. He talks about, you know, you touched on people that you surround yourself with there. He touched on when he got to, he was still pretty young, I think. I might be misquoting him. I think he was late teens, and he just started to audit all of the people around him. When he really thought, I want to be a professional footballer, he said, what are my friends? These are people that he came through with when he was 8, 9, 10, all the way, you know, lifelong friends. And he started auditing them, and he started saying to them, you're not bringing anything to my life. You're not giving me anything positive that's going to help me get towards my goal. So I'm just going to, you know, I don't hate you, but we're not going to hang out anymore because I'm focused on this.
Yeah.
And I think that's self-awareness. And that's, you know, like you said, you've got to be around people that have the same mentality as you. And otherwise it kind of stunts. You can't get as far as you maybe would. So I thought that was really good from him. At a young age to be able to do that. I know I didn't do that until my mid to late 20s. So the earlier the better.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because just like he was saying, you were saying, like, you can love the person, like they can be a lovely person. If you really have to navigate if they're weight in any way, or like having a negative impact, or like slyly putting doubt in your mind or anything, like it's a hard thing to do, you know what I mean? And
very,
it can be in people's own families sometimes. It's rough, but
yeah,
very tough. It's a lonely journey at times, for sure. So
for sure.
I think you just got to, going back to the self-awareness, like know your limits, know what you are really willing to sacrifice. And because like you and I are right now, we're sitting in a country away from our families right now, pursuing our dreams and whatnot. It's not easy at all, especially in times like this, where, you know, there's a lot of uncertainties. The only thing you want to do is be around your families and supporting them and whatnot. But there's a lot of tough decisions, and that's only like one example. Sometimes you don't get the reward for your efforts either. There's not always an equal trade-off.
Right. Life's not fair. I mean, a lot of times you're not going to get what you expect or what you deserve. You know, life doesn't give you what you deserve a lot of times. And like you said, I think the self-awareness is massive, and then the mental toughness to roll with the punches in life, because there's going to be so many times in life, both of us have had it. Everyone I've spoken to has had some kind of adversity in their life that they've had to grow from to become, you know, a stronger person. You got to treat every single time you bump into something like that, you just got to treat it like a way to improve and a way to become stronger.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
no doubt. All right, let's see if we got any more. We'll answer a couple more. What you're saying is take people out of your life that have a negative impact. Yep, Sheldon, that's it. That's what we're saying. You only gave one key there. You got any more?
Just to touch on that quick point there, what Sheldon was saying, like when you say take people out of your life that have a negative impact, make sure you're knowing the difference between somebody that genuinely cares for you and is maybe offering some criticism that they're hoping to improve you through. Because that's a hard one to navigate too. I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into that right now, but there may be people in your life that offer you advice or like see something that you're doing and have a suggestion for you to do it better, that are coming from a genuine place.
Right.
Because often that feels like, any kind of criticism feels bad, but there's a difference between constructive criticism and then somebody who's just like genuinely trying to attack you, your ego or your confidence. So just that's for you to navigate, but just be aware of that as well. If someone's genuinely trying to help through their feedback.
Definitely. All right, mate. If you can find another one, try and look for one. If not, we'll end it there. I think we've answered a ton of questions there. Oh, someone asked Michael, Maestro 1 or 2.0?
Is always going to be my favorite, Maestro. But I mean, I like Maestro 2 though, because it's a little bit more challenging with you have cone setups for each day, so you're having to be a bit more precise. But it just depends where you're at in your ball mastery. Are you just I don't know what it was, mate.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's strange. I'm not sure. What's up, Sean? Anyway, mate, I think we got through them all. Just wanted to thank you for coming on. Sorry about all the connectivity issues, but it's all good. I'm glad we got to chat for a bit.
Yeah, pleasure. Hopefully we'll be catching up soon. We've not seen each other yet this year, but
I know, man.
As soon as we can, we'll be back getting some sessions in.
For sure, man. As soon as I can get out there, I will. And you're always welcome here. And appreciate your time, man.
Great.
Yeah, we'll talk again soon, man. And stay blessed, and I'll speak to you soon, bro.
Thanks, brother. All right, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. All right, Sam.
See you, mate. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you.